Now pay attention, 007. I've always tried to teach you two things. First, never let them see you bleeding.
And the second?
Always have them escape.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be. I'm Christopher Morales, that one Bond guy, and welcome to the video. Welcome to the start of a new series. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about this one today, and this video in particular means so much to me. We're starting a series called Initial Bond. What does that mean? I'm reaching out to a plethora of Bond fans and people in the Bond community that might have started a hobby or a side quest, if you will, all because they were Bond fans. How did they start? Why did they start? How long did it take them to get to a point where they felt comfortable doing it? Whether it be skiing or climbing or bartending, something unique, a new life skill that they have learned. So stay tuned for the next few episodes in this series. It's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully it inspires you to go out and start a new skill yourself. That being said, the first episode, I really wanted to share my story. My story on how all of this came to be. It kind of dawned on me after 6 years of content creating and being in and around all things Bond and the Bond community that I never really shared, or at least never sat down and talked to you guys like we are now. I'm sure at many other events in person, that was the topic of conversation, or maybe in a collaboration video with others, I've been always asked the question. But I never really made an official statement on how it all started, and it's a unique story. Now we got to go all the way back to 4th, 5th grade, which is elementary school here in the States, and I believe you would call it primary school overseas. Nevertheless, our school was getting prepared for what you called as Scholastic Book Fair. Think of it as a pop-up bookstore, pop-up book mall, or a shop where students could go and peruse the different aisles to see the current bestsellers, check out some materials for school, games. It was basically to promote literacy for students around our area. And it was always filled with excitement. We'd get little magazines beforehand, about a week or so beforehand, and we'd pick out what we want, circle, run to our parents, be like, please, 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 can we have the money to get this? And once the day came, I'll never forget, I was so excited. I went in and kind of was overwhelmed. I had a sensory overload because there were so many things going on. But there was one book that stood out. It was titled Stormbreaker by Mr. Anthony Horowitz. That was the start of it all. That was my introduction to the spy, espionage, thriller genre, the Alex Rider series. Reading that book, it was an easy read for me, and I picked it up, and through the next couple of weeks I was immersed in it. You have a kid who's really not that popular, unknown, and in school being thrown into a world of spycraft that literally could be the end of the world. Spoiler alert. He saves the world. It just got me instantly hooked, and that was my initial introduction. So hats off to Mr. Anthony Horowitz for getting me introduced to that amazing series and the amazing genre. And little did I know he'd play a huge part in the Bond series, being a continuation novelist himself with 3 amazing Bond continuation novels. It's just funny how things work out. So for those who I have had the honor of making an acquaintance with, you would instantly consider me to be an old soul. The music I listen to, obviously the way I dress, and the style, the stuff about me kind of speaks a little old money. There's just, you gotta admit, I'm 25 going on 80. I've been told that many times, but I take it as a compliment. But I owe all of that to my grandparents. There was a time where I would come and actually visit my grandparents here in Northern California every summer, because I wasn't living here at the time, and we'd always be going on camping trips. These camping trips will always and forever be cemented in my mind as some of the most amazing moments growing up. We'd go to the beach, the mountains, the woods, you name it, but it wasn't a camping trip without this one moment. My grandpa would always bring his boombox stereo with him. Think of it as Q's ghetto blaster. But we would be sitting around the fire and we'd be listening to these same 3 CDs, and they were all music from the 1950s and 60s. It was ingrained in my brain, this type of music, and these artists that I soon developed a love for, and I developed interest, and I researched, and I found one thing in common that really set them apart from at least any modern day artists, is that the style was timeless. All the men dressed impeccably, and that inspired me to dress impeccably. I love the music because it brought back those memories of my grandparents. Those brought me back to a place of comfort and joy and happiness, especially during those crazy times as a teenager. The style followed, the interests in that followed. So by 15 years old, 16 years old, I had a whole wardrobe of vintage blazers and slacks and ties that I all thrifted, because at the time, of course, I didn't have any money. So I'd go to the thrift store and pick out things that I thought would look like Frank Sinatra or Cary Grant or John Connery. Anybody from that time era that was remotely famous, I just wanted to look like and put an outfit like that together. It made me feel confident. Yeah, was I overdressed at every single family event and gathering or holiday? Sure. Every school picture, was I always the one in a suit? Yeah, it was like Bond had his armor. That suit was my armor. It was inevitable that the two newly founded interests would come together and become one. Enter the year 2014. Kingsman, the Secret Service. And that was when the floodgates opened. Because of my growing knowledge of vintage and men's tutorial wear, as well as the spycraft, that film obviously attracted me. So I went to go and see it for the first time in the theater, and I will never forget, it was packed with people. An amazing experience, especially if you've seen Kingsman and the way that Matthew Vaughn directs visually. I mean, it was, talk about sensory overload. It was crazy. The language, everything was just so action-packed. An unforgettable experience. Like I said, that was when it really kind of blew up for me. I started doing more research. I started getting really involved in learning all about what bespoke tailoring meant and the history of Savile Row. It really made me want to elevate who I was as a gentleman and treat people with kindness and compassion and do things for the greater good. There's just something about it. I even had the opportunity to go to New York City and check out Huntsman, which was the sister store to the establishment on Savile Row, which was the inspiration for the actual tailor shop in Kingsman. I was all in, and there was no going back. Because of her noticing my progressing obsession with all of this, my mom, I owe this all to her. So everybody watching and all of my Bond stuff, you can thank her, because she asked me the most critical question to developing my Bond fandom. And it was, don't you know who James Bond is? And I said, of course I know who Bond is. He's a spy. He's, everybody knows who he is. But I really had no idea. I remember seeing the advertisements for Skyfall in 2012 and in 2015 Spectre in movie theaters, posters, the standees and things like that. But I never really, I didn't consider him as important at the time than because I saw Kingsman first. So Kingsman was up here and Bond was down here. How dare I? But after I really took some time to figure out who this Bond character was, that was it. It was Bond, James Bond, who really took the cake for me, going all the way back. I remember that summer she asked me that question. I went back from Dr. No to Spectre. At the time, I had 24 films to catch up on, and then one coming up, actually, that was just announced, No Time to Die, that I had to prepare for. Mind you, each film for me got just so exponentially better through each sequential viewing. It was literally a time capsule going from the 60s all the way to modern times. It was so cool to see, and I could really clearly see why that this franchise has lasted this long. Talking about tutorial style, spycraft, I mean, I could see where it came from. The Kingsman series, as great as it is, it really was a spoof off of Bond, and we owe it to Bond and Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, as well as, of course, Mr. Ian Fleming, to thank because of all of it. I know that now. Back then I didn't, now I do. And as I was going through the films in between, I would actually stop and do some more research, and I'd be going onto YouTube. That's where I discovered content creators such as The Bond Experience, Mr. David Zaritsky. Watching Zaritsky's videos led to listening to podcasts like Being James Bond, watching more videos on YouTube from Calvin Dyson, which really expanded my knowledge. Then I even began to frequent JamesBondLifestyle.com, which was the source to go to. It was literally like going to college for Bond. All my resources were right there. Then come 2019. I had to face the facts. My friends that I grew up with since second grade, mind you, were leaving off to college. Life was going to look a lot different, as was I going to college. I was losing that sense of personal community, and I was longing to be part of something else. And through the whole discovery of David Zaritsky and Calvin Dyson and all the other content creators, there was one thing that was consistent, and it was something known as the Bond community. And I really had no idea what it was, but I wanted to be part of it somehow. I decided to take a leap of faith and kind of got out of my comfort zone and create an Instagram, a James Bond themed Instagram. And it was really easy to kind of come up with the name because since the whole obsession of Bond and my involvement with going into the movies and asking all these questions and research and starting to get some things that look like what Bond wore, because at the time I was still a baby Bond fan. So I would, again, use my thrifting capabilities and knowledge there to go find clothing that kind of matched the style from different films. My family and friends made a nickname for me. I was the Bond guy. Oh, there's Chris. He's the Bond guy. Well, that one Bond guy. That's how it came to play. I've been using it ever since, and you know, it's gone through quite a few iterations of logos and whatnot, but being able to really have it grow with me again is at the core of that one Bond guy. It's a documentation of the epic experiences that I'm going through as a byproduct of a Bond content creator. It's been amazing, you know, meeting everybody and going on these different trips, even putting together events in my local area. You know, I did a toy drive once, and I did a couple movie screenings in my area for certain anniversaries. Now, heaven forbid that I were to lose everything. All the content, all the videos, all the Instagram posts, and all that disappears. And all I'm left with are the friends that I've made. I can honestly say that would be enough. That has been the biggest blessing out of all of this, is meeting the people of the Bond community that I now know is the best. Nobody does it better. From working together to promote different charities, doing events for charities, is just, there's a huge heart and love, not just for the character in the franchise, but to do something good. So that's my story. That's how all of this came to be. And I'm so glad that we've been able to sit here and chat about it, and I could share my testimony with you guys. We are in a new generation of Bond. We're going into the unknown with Amazon taking over. But one thing's for sure. While the new generation of Bond and the franchise may be unknown, and we may not have a direction yet, the new generation of Bond fan has a great responsibility to uphold truth, fun, and everything that the franchise was built on with Mr. Ian Fleming for the past 70 plus years, by looking back and looking at those who went before us. As long as I'm here, I'm going to continue to do that for you guys and be a part of this story and have more adventures. I can't wait to bring you guys along with me to other big milestones, other countries and other places I get to visit for the first time. Maybe some life milestones that I get to invite you guys to see. I really want to be as transparent as possible, because Bond, it's part of my life. It's a big part of my life, and I'm so thankful for it to be. Thank you so much for watching the video. It means so much that you guys took the time to hear my story. I'm Christopher Morales, that one Bond guy. Take care. I'll see you soon.